Deus Ex takes place in 2052, and it serves as the sequel to the modern games Human Revolution and Mankind Divided. We find ourselves in a totalitarian capitalistic world, where a small group vies for power while the rest struggle to survive in a dark future, consumed by an incurable virus known as the Grey Death. The limited supply of the vaccine, reserved only for the elite, fuels violence, prompting government intervention, and so our journey begins. It follows JC Denton, the next step in human augmentation, who upgraded from crude cybernetics to the advanced nanotech, very graciously sponsored by the leader in this technology, VersaLife. JC works alongside his brother Paul as special agents of the federal organization known as UNATCO, or the United Nations Anti-Terrorist Coalition. I arrive on Liberty Island when my handler Alex informs me that the terrorist organization known as the NSF raided the island and stole some ambrosia vaccine, and that Paul, who was just back from Hong Kong, is on his way to brief me on the situation. My main mission is to locate and shut down the makeshift command center they were forced to set up when cornered and hunkered down inside the statue. An agent was also taken hostage when he refused the order to stand down. It seems the higher-ups are curious how I would handle this situation and intend to send me in alone. And immediately you start making decisions that will impact the way you play the rest of the game. Choosing the tranquilizer dart while my brother tells me to meet an informant on the north side dock to get the key into the statue, but hints that I should look for a back entrance to avoid fighting altogether. I started sneaking onto the island, creeping through the shadows, prodding baddies as I went, until I came up on the informant who gave me the key to the front of the statue. He asked me to keep the leader alive as he was sure to give up at the mere sight of me. I decided to listen to Brother Dearest and snuck into the back of the statue. But as soon as I got there, Alex told me that the kidnapped agent was on the bottom floor. So I guess I should at least try and save the poor man who got himself caught. I made my way down.
I know I heard something.
And found a way around these lasers through a vent. Hacked the computer terminal and made contact with the agent, Gunther Herman.
Glad you're not hurt, Agent.
Command should not have left us to be surrounded.
He was eager to join me, but that would mean giving up one of my weapons, and you know what? How about you sit this one out, big guy?
Excuse that I have forgotten your brother Paul Denton and the infinite power of nano-augmentation.
With that done, I could finally move up the statue towards the commander. My orders are to bring him in for questioning, but as soon as he surrendered, I started the interrogation a bit earlier. He said that they only wanted to give ordinary people the same chance to get the ambrosia vaccine as the bureaucrats in Washington, which kinda makes sense. He also says that the plague is man-made, but that's just a theory. You are then supposed to hand him over to the trooper, but I keep prying for more information, and so flows the first conspiracy that pretty much boils down to big corporations paying next to no tax while fewer and fewer people are self-employed, strengthening governments and corporations while weakening the individual slowly over time, and yeah.
It's called consolidation.
He then says that all of the past 23 presidents were members of a group called the Trilateral Commission, financed by the Rockefellers and Rothschilds, with the implication being that a small group has control over who becomes president, essentially holding all the power. There is actually something called the Trilateral Commission that was financed by David Rockefeller, and a conspiracy surrounding the commission believing it to be a central plotter for a single world government. And it does boast some interesting members, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. That's about all I can get out of him, so I start heading downstairs to find every last NSF member gunned down. I thought we were trying to minimize casualties, guys, you know, being a peacekeeping force and all that, but oh well. At least that gave me the opportunity to pick the building clean, including this ATM machine. Outside the UNATCO building, I found a proud brother who was at least happy that I was trying to avoid simply killing out of convenience, and spoiler, that sentiment really doesn't last. He says they stole a month's worth of ambrosia destined for the East Coast and took it back to New York. When asked why an anti-terrorist organization would be in charge of distributing vaccine, he answered that UNATCO is responsible for making sure the limited supply gets to the government agencies and key industries, and I don't know. you know what, let's not question our overlords on the first day. So I head downstairs to get my debriefing from UNATCO Chief Joseph Manderly.
Reporting for duty, sir.
The next mission will be working with Anna Navarra, while my brother heads up the recovery team to try and find the missing ambrosia. I will be briefed after my checkup with the doctor and after receiving my equipment from the quartermaster. On my way down, I ran into Anna and Gunther in the break room.
I wanted orange. It gave me lemon lime.
I do not expect you to perform as well as Agent Herman, but the mission will require us to do more than frighten the NSF with our baggy coats that make us look bigger than we really are.
Jeez. What a nice lady. I make a quick pit stop in the bathroom, finding someone's forgotten packs of smokes, and yes please. Okay, I mean at this point there has to be something in the ladies' bathroom, right? Oh, hello.
How unprofessional.
Yeah, sorry about that. I meet Dr. Jaime, who gives me a clean bill of health, a quick note about augmentation canisters that might be lying around, and that only medbots can help me install them. Luckily, I grabbed the one on top of the statue and chose the big muscles like the Chad I am. I met my handler Alex in the flesh,
Like leading a mouse to cheese.
and finally the quartermaster Sam Carter, who gave me a stealth pistol and sent me back to Manderly for my briefing. It would seem that the NSF is holding the ambrosia in a warehouse. Before Paul can enter though, they need me to shut down the power to the warehouse. So my mission is to deal with the NSF forces, resisting our pushback with Anna, and then go on to find the generator and knock it out.
By the way, Denton, stay out of the ladies' restroom. That kind of activity embarrasses the agency more than it does you.
So I went back to the docks and got into a speedboat heading for the mainland to Battery Park, where I met Anna saying that the terrorists barricaded themselves inside Castle Clinton. They are apparently hiding a barrel of ambrosia inside that we need to retrieve, but she needs me to, and I quote, exterminate the terrorists first. While following Anna, I ran into a starving child, so I gave the little beta his soy supplement.
How about some soy food?
He thanks me and gives me directions to the back of the facility, which I take full advantage of,
Interesting.
gaining some much needed skill points. The game does a terrible job explaining this, but you can choose to spec into various branches that will help you throughout your game. You can receive skill points by completing missions, finding unconventional routes, and so on, and then spend them to improve various abilities. I sneak through the vents and eventually come up on some of the missing ambrosia. Outside, I finally get the chance to stretch my legs, explore the area, and speak to the local populace.
Somebody kill me. Anybody?
And this kinda shows the disparity between the wealthy and the rest of the people.
Oh, Lord have mercy, why?
Anna interrupts my stroll to let me know that the rest of the NSF has taken hostages and is keeping them in the subway where they wired the platform with explosives. But first, I decided to clean out the rest of Castle Clinton, and this is the exact moment where my pacifist nature took a left turn straight into a trench. So I'm gonna be very honest, early game combat is ass. You really need to spec into a specific weapon, otherwise you're not going to have the best time. And even after that, the gunplay really isn't the game's strength. Alright, come on. Wow. You are encouraged to find better ways than to John Wick your way out of any situation, and that is the game's strength. For instance, coming up on the subway station, I find it stacked full of terrorists, but I also find a vent leading downstairs, allowing you to take them by surprise. After incapacitating everyone, I told the hostages to get on the train and we head to Hull's kitchen, where the second part of my mission is located. I run into Paul saying that his team is ready to raid the warehouse and they will be waiting for me to shut down the power. He mentions that he told the civilians to take cover in a tavern and gives me a key to his apartment, saying that there is more equipment if I should need it. On my way to the tavern, Alex informs me of a hostage situation in the hotel close by, and I definitely took that seriously. While inside, I met with the owner, Mr. Renton, and I was absolutely oblivious to the fact that he had a gun to his head.
I'll head out just a minute. Quiet.
Luckily, the gunman was dumber than I was, and I was able to take him out without the owner getting hurt.
You alright, Mr. Renton?
He told me about more hostages on the second floor, and after saving them too, one of them mentions that he overheard them talk about a generator in a warehouse a few streets south from here. First, I drop by my brother's place, steal his food, and open his secret workspace. His password to his computer is called Chameleon, and read into that what you want. And I find an interesting email on his computer about an undelivered email, saying that he will speak to a person called Tracer about worrying test results. We will put a pin in this. I screw around a bit, and eventually moved on, where I found Mr. Renton's daughter in a bit of a bind.
You've got 10 seconds to beat it before I add you to the list of NSF casualties.
All right. Go on. Jesus.
She tells me about a smuggler that sells high-grade weapons close by and the password to get in, so I head straight over.
Password? Bloodshot.
Where I am met with a series of booby traps. When I ask the smuggler what gives, he tells me that people are disappearing and that the government is behind it. They kidnapped one of his friends and is holding him in a secret lab underneath the city. And if I can find him, he will give me a discount on whatever he is selling. It's absolutely ridiculous to believe that the government has some sort of secret facility in the sewers. And I can't believe I have to drudge through this just to prove that, oh hey, look, there's a secret facility in the sewers. Son of a bitch. It's clear that whoever this is, they are no friends of the NSF. And looking at his data cube, no friends of any government agency either. I decide to keep investigating, and Alex informs me that he has no information as to what I might be walking into. The only information I have to go on for now is that they belong to a group called MJ12. And their password is called coup d'etat, which literally means to overthrow power through military means. Read into that what you want. I keep moving down the facility until coming up on the smuggler's friend. When asked what's going on, he said that he was forced to do work on antibodies, doing experiments on people and so on.
Make a break for it. I'll protect you.
I can make it from here.
I report back to the smuggler for my discount and grab a scope for my silent pistol.
Deal.
I finally decide to go to the Underworld Tavern where the civilians are taking cover, and I met this pilot who said that he has info on Area 51.
Area 51. You heard of it, right?
But will only tell me if I can get him raving drunk.
You can have this beer.
He says that the place is crawling with execs, suits and billionaires, like it was taken over by a private corporation. He thinks that they moved something called Echelon 4 there. Project Echelon is an actual surveillance program created during the Cold War. It was formally established in the 70s, and by the end of the 20th century, it, and I quote, greatly expanded. Now, I don't want to dive too deep into this because I can already hear the damn choppers above my head, but I do want to mention that the European Parliament wanted to run an investigation on the program's capabilities in 2001. But when the committee wanted to attend meetings with the agencies like the CIA and the NSA, all of the meetings were subsequently cancelled and the committees forced to disband. After that, they did release a final report saying that no, it's fine, definitely not something to be concerned about. And yeah, do with that information what you want. After getting a good buzz going, he was ready to go back on duty. He is the pilot that was flying my brother to Hong Kong on a regular basis, but didn't want to elaborate on what he was doing there. Just saying that I needed to trust my brother.
Your brother's one of the bravest men I know.
And I think it is finally time to do something about the generator, so I start moving towards the warehouse. I jump across rooftops, finding a sniper, and making it to the top of the building. Sneaking through and finding the controls, shutting down the coolant to the generator, and the subsequent explosion was the reaction I was looking for. I meet Jock, the pilot from the bar on the roof, and he is supposed to fly me back to HQ, and great. I'm glad I fueled this man full of liquor before he is supposed to do that. I have done my part, now it's up to my brother. I return to HQ and I'm getting a bad feeling.
Your mission was a success. Just about the only bright side of the operation.
Don't worry about what the guys are saying about Hell's Kitchen.
The vibe is frosty.
Manderley said he's busy, but to wait outside his office.
Outside, I could hear a discussion between him and Walton Simons, the director of FEMA, saying that they don't need him, they have his brother and more on the way, and that Manderley should never have sent him to Hong Kong. Strange that FEMA is involved in this, but whatevs. Afterwards, Manderley informed me that the mission failed. Paul was unable to retrieve the vaccine and he hasn't reported back in. We have one last chance to retrieve it and I should get the equipment I need and head out after it. I found an ominous email from my brother simply saying that he had his reasons and that I need to trust him. Not sure what to make of the whole situation, I head towards the chopper and get dropped off back at Battery Park, where the NSF initially moved the Ambrosia through. Someone must have seen something. I start asking around and found out that they moved the Ambrosia through the subway that I can enter through a secret phone booth. I went through the subway station and found another secret entrance to the tunnels, where I came upon a group of NSF soldiers hunkered down. It was pretty easy to sneak past and find their leader, and he also instantly surrendered.
I surrender.
I don't know where they're finding these guys, but I'm not complaining.
Hey, I'm just an accountant.
He gave me directions toward the missing Ambrosia and a key to get there.
The panel's secured.
Paul said not to take any chances.
Well, I guess he would know.
Okay, that's suspicious. I came upon the sewer tunnels and Alex said that I should come up on an airfield, where they are likely trying to fly the vaccine out of there. I instantly found the first of 3 missing barrels near the entrance, and also found an augmentation upgrade canister next to a data cube. That would suggest that they want to analyze the vaccine, probably to try and synthesize it. Noble, but public access to medicine instead of monopolizing it to make maximum money? Barbaric. I make my way towards a terminal that's owned by a trust fund baby, a man called Lebedev, that already has ties with terrorists. My orders are to shoot on sight, and hang on, shouldn't we, interrogate him first? I find the second barrel at the docks where they were trying to load it onto some more speedboats, and Alex informs me that the last one is probably on Lebedev's private plane, so I slowly make my way towards the hangar. I find the plane in question and my brother waiting for me by the door.
You can relax, JC. I told the troops to stand down.
You work for the NSF?
Listen to what I've got to say. We don't have much time.
He tells me that the Grey Death is a man-made virus and everyone is at UNATCO's mercy as long as they control the supply of Ambrosia. So they need to get the last barrel to a man called Tracer Tong in Hong Kong so they can synthesize the vaccine. And now we know what he has been doing in Hong Kong and why the higher-ups at UNATCO are so upset with him for it.
Join us, JC.
He reiterated the point that the wealthy has been plotting for a single world government for years to gain absolute control through funding organizations like the UN, reminding me that the UN was first started with funding from John Rockefeller, and hey, didn't he also fund the Trilateral Commission? I decided to have a chat with the man that turned my brother, Lebedev himself. While trying to find out what he knows, Anna storms in and orders me to put a bullet between his eyes. Things get a bit heated and he tells me that my parents were employees and that I was manufactured. But before Lebedev could say what Paul had possibly learned in Hong Kong that would convince him to join terrorists, Anna opened fire, killing Lebedev and expressing her disappointment in me.
Manderley will be disappointed in your insubordination.
I find the last barrel in the cargo hold of the plane along with another augmentation canister, and I'm definitely not leaving without it. It seems that my brother escaped at least. Back at the base, the people seemed to divided on my decision not to kill Lebedev. People like Alex, Carter, and the doctor thought I made the right decision, and pretty much everyone else thinks otherwise. Nevertheless, I head towards Manderley for my debrief.
All right, Tintin. What the hell happened?
Manderley was furious that I didn't kill Lebedev. The higher-ups were already worried about my loyalty because of my brother's involvement with the NSF, and now I'm going around blatantly disobeying direct orders. The coalition is activating Paul's kill switch, reminding me that the same can happen to me.
Can they really kill him? With the press of a button?
Yes, and you too.
it is imperative that they trust me. So they are sending me to Hong Kong to assassinate this man called Chaser Tong. Despite that speech, it's a little bit suspicious that they want me to, again, kill someone without taking the chance to question them first. Especially if he knows a lot about the supposed limited vaccine, and it feels like they're using this situation to coerce me to impulsively assassinate someone to prove my loyalty. I hacked the computer in front of him and found an email from Dr. Jaime asking what's the deal with finding evidence of torture when treating NSF prisoners. It's a bit of an ethical conundrum, but I found a second email on his computer, a link to MJ12, the Black Ops guys that were experimenting on people that I distinctly remember having no affiliation to UNATCO specifically. I ran into Walton Simons again, and it would seem that he's here to stay. And then I made the connection. Walton Simons. It would seem that Manderley is no longer in control of this agency, but the better question is, was he ever? I installed the augmentation canister to give me a ballistic shield and went over to Alex, who said that he knows Paul would have his reasons, and he would like to know what that was. He mentions that if I should ever get into contact with him, that Alex would disable the info link to give us some privacy. I was ready to leave for Hong Kong when Jock tells me that my brother is in trouble and he is taking me to his apartment in Hell's Kitchen. I rushed towards the apartment to find my wounded brother sitting upright in probably the most uncomfortable chair in the apartment. You know there's a bed, right? I suggest getting the f*** out of there, but he was determined to send a distress code to his terrorist buddies all around the world. When I was skeptical, he said that all the proof I would need is in an undercover base where he left his report to the militia leaders. I agreed, so I set off again. Hey, excuse me? But not before running into the Rentons in the lobby. Apparently, they were being harassed by a gang member and he was asking for a gun for protection. And I thought, nah, f*** it, let's see what happens. At that moment, the gang member showed up and he shot him.
We got him.
I was hoping I'd run into that punk.
That convinced his daughter to stick around for a bit, and that worked out a lot better than I thought.
Dad.
I paid the smuggler a visit again, and he warned me that UNATCO has the area surrounded and they're closing in fast. In the tavern, I found the same sentiment.
Here's a tip for free. Take cover. UNATCO's about to do a raid.
I guess I need to do whatever my brother needs me to do, and fast. So I head over to the warehouse to find it crawling with UNATCO soldiers. Luckily, they let me pass and I head straight in. I head towards the basement to find the proof Paul mentioned, but after seeing the sheer amount of security, I couldn't be bothered. In hindsight, that was probably not the best idea. I aligned the dish and sent the message out, and yeah, that very neatly aligned me with the terrorists as well.
What an expensive mistake you turned out to be.
Oh well, I guess that's that. Time to head over to Paul and get as far away from here as possible. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna make a run for it. Okay, yeah, that actually could have gone worse. I got to my brother, and when asked why Walton Simons has authority over UNATCO, he said that his authority comes from a secret organization known as Majestic 12, bent on overthrowing the government, and so the pieces neatly come together. MJ12 uses the virus to get leverage over top officials through controlling the vaccine supply, infiltrating the government, and so seizing control. But it was too late. Agents were knocking at the door. I'm way too deep into this already, and I have questions, so I hunker down and start fighting. It was a tough fight, and afterwards Paul says that the smuggler will get him to Hong Kong, and I should head over to Jock, but we are not done. We fought all the way to the lobby and killed every last person. When I turned around after the absolute carnage, Paul vanished, so I guess he got out through the office. And so I climbed through the window to get to the subway. I guess I should have stopped at the smuggler to see if my brother made it alright, but at this stage I just needed to get out of there, and I'm sure my brother can take care of himself. I took the train towards Battery Park and found Anna waiting for me.
We had such hopes for you and your brother.
This wasn't my proudest fight, but she scares me.
Altered heartbeat. He's here somewhere. Come out, Agent. I can sense you, but I have you.
With Anna defeated, I was home free and me.
There is no escape.
I found myself in a jail cell in an unknown location when I got contacted by an unknown entity known as Daedalus.
Get ready.
Just a little side note, in Greek mythology, Daedalus was the father of Icarus, who designed the wings that allowed his son to fly in order to escape the island of Crete, and I think we all know how that went. And it is a cool resemblance that this entity is also giving us a means to escape. He opens the door and I sneak out, where I meet another prisoner that doesn't give me the best news.
I heard a guard say that you're the only one who lived.
It can't be.
Let's get out of here.
I don't know what happened or what I could have done differently to save him, but I guess there's no changing that now. Daedalus gives me a floor plan to the facility and tells me to retrieve something called a data vault from my brother's body that would allow Tracer Tong to defeat the kill switch, as they would have undoubtedly activated mine. And I have no idea how long I have left. I sneak around trying to avoid a fight until I have my equipment back from the armory. After which I set off to find my brother's body.
My brother? Is he nearby?
They have the cadaver in the medical area. Agent Denton, believe me, I share your loss.
The urge to reload a save point was really high at this point, but I ultimately decided against it. On my way, I saw an augmentation canister, and I would be damned if I didn't at least take that out with me. After a bit of hassle, I installed the spy drone. Sounds absolutely amazing on paper, but not so great in practice. It chows a ridiculous amount of charge that can be improved with time, but it moves slower than your grandmother's internet connection, so I literally never used it. When I opened the door to the exit, fully expecting the Nevadan desert to greet me, I found myself in a familiar room. This was Dr. Jaime's lab, and I was back at UNATCO's HQ.
JC, you escaped?
I spoke with Jaime, who was disgusted to hear of Paul's death and offered to help.
Manderley's a snake. What can I do to help?
I decided not to ask him to join me in Hong Kong, instead leaving him here as a mole. He gave me another augmentation canister and I installed the regeneration augmentation, a lot more useful than that stupid drone. Next, I paid a visit to Alex, fully expecting him to be Daedalus, but he was just as confused as I was.
Daedalus? What are you talking about?
Saying my info link went down and he thought they killed me too. Although the thought did cross his mind to do the same because of what they did to Paul, he refused to sit back and watch, so he gave me a key to the front entrance. I gave him the offer to join me and he said he might see me in Hong Kong. Lastly, I stormed into Manderley's office, where my suspicions regarding his authority over UNATCO was proven to be right. And it seems that the higher-ups got tired of the charade.
We hoped you'd give UNATCO an urbane diplomatic face, that's all.
JC!
I never had time to take the oath of service to the Coalition. How about this one? I swear not to rest until UNATCO is free of you and the other crooked bureaucrats who've perverted its mission.
You can't run, Denton. Even if you escape, your kill switch is counting down. You'll be dead in 23 hours. Another $50 billion down the drain.
We'll see about that.
At least there was some semblance of truth in what he said before he tried to kill me.
Simons will turn it into his own private army.
There is nothing left for me here. I found Jock outside, saying that the same Daedalus told him to meet me here, but no time to ponder on that puzzle. Let's make like a tree and fuck off. I found myself in the heart of Hong Kong, where I spent a lot of time familiarizing myself with the area. I find out that the area is pretty much run by two competing triads, the Red Arrow and the Luminous Path, and it would seem that the latter isn't doing so great.
What do you think of the Red Arrow triad?
They will control all all of one chai in a few weeks.
As I keep wandering around this maze-like area, I find out quite a bit. The way the triads use to settle differences is through innovation. The one that crafts the superior weapon would be deemed more powerful, and that sounds pretty civilized actually. The reason the triads are fighting in the street like a bunch of cavemen is because the Red Arrow has crafted a powerful sword, and the rumor is that the opposition murdered their leader and stole the sword, hence the Ooga Booga. I also found out that the tech in the sword has nanotech components. There is only one corporation that deals in nanotech, and coincidentally it's the same company that has a monopoly over the ambrosia vaccine, VersaLife. I decided to pay a visit to the Triad compounds and to meet the leader of the Luminous Path, Gordon Quick, and dude, I have no idea how they thought this was a good idea.
And Miss Chow started the war by blaming us, the Luminous Path.
Nevertheless, he tells me that the sword, called the Dragon's Tooth, was stolen, the Red Arrow leader murdered, and the crime blamed on the Luminous Path by a wealthy diplomat known as Maggie Chow in order to start a war between the triads. He needs me to investigate and find proof of this, and maybe then he will introduce me to Tracer Tong. Next, I head over to the Lucky Money Club where the Red Arrow operates out of. I met these two Aussie Sheilas outside, and it's time to practice my Riz game.
What's your name?
JC.
Glorious.
We left our credit cards at the hotel. Think you could get us in?
Sure.
Right. You like to dance then? Let's go.
That's how you do it, lads. After definitely not being taken advantage of, I decide to cut this mad potty loose and look for Max Chen, the now leader of the Red Arrow. I sneak through the back and to meet up with Max, where I told him that the Luminous Path claims they didn't steal the sword.
Are you calling me a liar?
He was pretty dismissive after that, so I decided to keep exploring the area. And only after confidently searching every corner did I decide to pay this Maggie Chow a visit. Word on the street isn't exactly singing her praises, so I go in with a tad of skepticism. Upon my arrival, the maid welcomed me, saying I was expected, and took me to meet Miss Chow.
Mother Chow, Mr. J.C. Denton.
In the flesh.
She tells the story of how Majestic 12, through UNATCO, sent Paul to assassinate both her and the Red Arrow leader, but she persuaded him to join their side. They were winning the Triad War against MJ12's ally, the Luminous Path, but even providing proof of this to the police, no one wants to believe her. She urges me to find this evidence and make up my own mind. She then wanted to know where Paul was.
Maggie, Paul is dead.
What?
I guess my next stop would be the police station, but something came up. I thought it was really funny how the maid wanted to follow me everywhere. And during my antics, I came upon a wall with a very distinctive sound emanating from behind it. I saw a suspiciously placed lantern, and what do you know? I'm way too curious to find out what the hell is going on here, but first I needed to lose my tail. So, sorry about that. What is... yeah, that's definitely MJ12 troops. Well, that kinda outs Maggie. I hacked the panel, and guess what I found behind it? Yup, that's the Dragon's Tooth. My info link lit up, and it was the main man, Tracer Tong himself, asking me to retrieve the sword. First, I saw a hologram terminal, and Walton Simons left a message to Maggie, pretty much saying that the Triad thing is a long-term plan, as it would take years for the Red Arrow to build up enough influence to take over Beijing, whereas he was in a position to take over Washington right now. It would seem that MJ12 wants their fingers in every pie imaginable. Oh, and there was also an honorable mention about VersaLife. Not surprising that he had his finger up that one as well. Before I hacked the terminal, I found a recording of Maggie killing the previous Red Arrow leader. It looks like they're being manipulated just like everyone else. I grabbed the sword and bolted out of there.
Hello? Whoever's out there is in serious trouble.
That went a lot better than expected, so I headed straight for the Lucky Money to show Max the sword.
But Miss Chow?
And I gave the man the law drop. I suggest a meeting with the Luminous Path, to which he agrees, and the club is suddenly attacked from NJ12. That might have been on me, I didn't exactly sneak out, but that would at least convince Max of my story. Next, I went to Gordon to show the Luminous Path the sword, and told him of the ceasefire between the triads, suggesting an alliance to fight Majestic 12. He was impressed enough to allow me access into their compound, saying that Tracer would be waiting for me in his lab. I finally meet the man and he offers to help me with my kill switch, but I will owe him a favor. Guess I don't really have much of a choice.
That's it?
A simple switch, as they call it.
Now for the favor. He needs me to sneak into VersaLife to download the schematics for the sword in order to make the weapon available for both the triads. I need to find a corrupt official inside that can be persuaded into giving me access into the labs. The man who sold the schematics to the Red Arrow leader in the first place. A man called Mr. Hundley. I checked out the lab for a bit, even finding my own computer, finding emails from Alex saying he arrived a bit before me, from Sam Carter, the quartermaster back at UNATCO, saying that the place is completely taken over by Walton Simons. Manderley, along with other people associated with UNATCO, have all disappeared. And lastly, an email from Daedalus. He said that not only do they manufacture the vaccine for the Great Death at VersaLife, but also manufacture the virus itself. He needs me to destroy something called the Universal Constructor used to create the Great Death, and I still don't know who this Daedalus is. But for now, his objectives seem to align with mine, so I guess I will do what it asks. I run into Alex in the med bay, and he told me that he was glad to be here, but shared my concerns about leaving Dr. Jaime behind in such a dangerous position.
He told me you wanted to use him as a spy. I don't know. Pretty dangerous, isn't it?
Simons was apparently on the hunt for traitors, and Jaime was scared. Maybe I made a mistake asking him to stay. I asked Alex if he learned anything about Daedalus, and it turned out that Daedalus is an advanced AI project sanctioned by the government known as Echelon 4, created for next-gen surveillance, but was apparently scrapped. I was pretty anxious to get to VersaLife, so I went straight over and, cozy. I met Mr. Hundley and he instantly offered to give me access for 2,000 credits, and that's a ton of money. So I tried to find an alternative first. I met this poor soul who already gave up on life, saying that it's his job to falsify all the records and people with his job tend to not last very long. He offered to get me clearance if I killed Hundley, and yeah, I'll do that.
Alright, I killed your boss. You mean... He's out of the picture.
Good luck, bud. I really wish you all the best. I have a look around and the shit I see is absolutely crazy. Wow, that's subtle. I even find a secret way underneath the secret facility where I overhear Maggie speak to Bob Page, a billionaire philanthropist and CEO of Page Industries. VersaLife, being a subsidiary of his company, means that he pretty much owns all of it, and subsequently means he's probably the one behind the Great Death, Ambrosia, Nanotech, all of it. He mentions something about trying something at Area 51, and that brings back the conversation I had with Jock at the beginning of the game, when he mentioned that execs took over the area. I also overhear that he has a plan to deal with me specifically, called Icarus, and for those who haven't made the connection yet, Icarus in mythology was Daedalus's son. Lastly, I came up on 3 augmentation canisters and a medbot conveniently placed next to it. I don't have the code for the chamber and it costs 4 multi-tools to hack the panel, but a chance to get 3 augments is an opportunity I simply cannot give up, even when I can only grab 2. The first one gave me the invis augmentation and oh hell yes. The other one was night vision that was somehow worse than my flashlight, so it became another useless one that I never used. With that done, I downloaded the schematics and got the hell out of there. I even got a chance to use my new invis augmentation, and I am definitely going to use this often. I very ceremoniously gave the triads the schematics, which also allowed me to keep the original sword.
Forever!
And I reported back to Tracer, who wanted me to gain access to level 2 of the facility in order to get the schematics of the virus so we could start synthesizing the Ambrosia vaccine. So I guess we're heading back. While crawling through the tunnels, Daedalus tells me that the universal constructor is in this area and he still needs me to destroy it. I sneak past the security and retrieve the schematic for Tracer, upon which he tells me that I stumbled on a lot more than the schematics. Among proof that VersaLife was synthesizing the virus was inventory data as well. The entire virus stockpile was loaded onto a super freighter heading for New York, and the freighter used to belong to a man called Stanton Dowd, one of the leaders of the Illuminati. It would behoove me to get out of there quick. I still think it would be worth it to destroy the one thing that is creating the virus in the first place, so I keep going, where I also find another bunch of augmentation canisters. They prove to be the most valuable. A power recirculator, greatly reducing the amounts of power my other implants use, a speed enhancement also allowing me to jump higher, and lastly an environmental resistance implant that will come in handy a lot in the future. I find Maggie Chow bravely defending the universal constructor.
You just got yourself killed. It's over, JC.
And I used the code Daedalus gave me to overload the system, causing it to explode. With both the primary objectives complete, now was the time to escape. While running, Tracer gave me more information, saying that the virus schematics had the Illuminati's signature, meaning that they were somehow connected. Back in the lab, Tracer suggests having a conversation with Stanton Dowd in New York to find out how this all connects with each other, but more importantly, how to find and stop his super freighter, with enough of the virus to infect a continent. I also get word that Gunther is close by, so I think it's time to skedaddle anyways. I found myself back in Hell's Kitchen, and it's nice to be somewhere familiar. I ran into this soldier on leave who said that FEMA took over a submarine base where he is stationed. All the staff were moved out in the middle of the night, and FEMA set up a perimeter not allowing anyone to come near. That made all the patriotic soldiers very jumpy. So when I mentioned that I would investigate, he said that his buddies at the base would happily lend me a hand. Even when I finally met Stanton Dowd looking a bit rough,
caught this damn plague myself.
He mentioned that the only place to hide a freighter of that size would be at the submarine base. He suggests scuttling the ship and gives me his schematics on the weak points in order to blow them up. Jock then informed me that he is seeing soldiers closing in, so I get to use my new speed augmentation to get out of there. When I arrive at the base, the soldiers' buddies share the sentiment that they don't like this one bit and gives me access into the facility.
FEMA and the Chinese, I don't like the smell of it one bit.
I sneak around a bit, ensuring that I investigate every corner before finally moving inside the main building. I then get informed by Jock that he just saw Gunther leaving Smuggler's Place, and he doesn't think that he made it out alive. That is unfortunate, and that also means that Gunther is close on my tail. I find the freighter at the dock and climb on board when Daedalus once again chimes in. He needs me to find one of the last remaining leaders of the Illuminati in Paris, a man called Morgan Everett, through his mistress, Beth Duclair, and I'm honestly starting to lose track of all these names. I pretty much murder my way through the ship. I found the different hull points, blew them up, and reversed the bilge pumps, at which point Daedalus informs me that Beth Duclair is dead. I need to find her daughter, Nicolette. I find the last hull point and blew that too, causing the structural integrity to start failing, and the ship is slowly sinking. I make a break for the ventilation system and make it to the top of the roof, where Jock is patiently waiting to take me to Stanton Dowd, who apparently figured out who engineered the virus in the first place. He dropped me off at Dowd's family mausoleum, and that's a creepy place to want to meet. I gave him his vaccine, and he talks about Everett and how we will need his help to develop a cure, as he was the one who developed the virus. Well, kinda. He was working on nanotechnology, the same nanotechnology that allows my implants and also the dragon's tooth. But Bob Page found a way to turn his research into a virus. Yeah, Bob Page was also a leader of the Illuminati, but broke off to form Majestic 12, and that would explain how VersaLife got this research to manufacture the virus. Everett should be able to reverse engineer Page's modifications, and so finding him through Nicolette is of utmost importance. The only lead I have is Nicolette's link with the terrorist organization known as Silhouette. Also, when my brother wanted me to send out a distress call, it was to this very organization. That allowed them to retreat into the catacombs underneath Paris, so I asked Jacques to drop me off close by. While drudging through the sewers looking for an entrance, I got a message from Icarus. Great, now I have ChatGPT and DeepSeek inside my head. I reached the catacombs, but unsurprisingly, MJ-12 troops were already in the area. They were trying to flush Silhouette from their hideout, but I was able to carve my way through to them. I met with the leader of the resistance, who told me that MJ-12 took hostages, and they will only trust me enough to reveal Nicolette's location if I can help to free them. Done. Now tell me where I can find Nicolette.
You might catch her at Club La Porte de l'Enfer. I tried to tell her it's not safe, but ever since her mother's assassination, she has been careless.
Alright, time to see what Paris's nightlife has to offer. I start making my way towards the streets, where Tracer tells me that Dr. Jaime is waiting for me in one of the cafes here in Paris, and I am incredibly relieved to hear that he is okay. So I head straight over. I met Jaime, who came with a warning.
Yes, but I didn't trust anyone else to deliver this warning.
UNATCO intercepted a message Alex sent to him, so he is running as well. They are using an AI program to track me, probably Icarus, and they sent Gunter to Paris to assassinate me. Fortunately, the risk of him staying behind did yield some results. Gunter's kill phrase, La Putin Machine.
At the sound of your voice, 400 milliamps will discharge into Gunter's midbrain. Poof!
He also mentions that even Carter is gone too, leaving UNATCO a shell of its former self.
You have abandoned your own son.
I am a Frenchman.
I head towards the club where Nicolette was last spotted and is everything I expected it to be.
Hi, baby. What's your name?
JC.
I try asking around, but everyone is giving me the cold shoulder, and it doesn't seem like Silhouette is really the people's choice.
It is nothing special to be a reactionary who tries to revive the same old rhetoric.
I finally run into someone who seems to know more than she has to and tells me that Nicolette will meet me outside the club. And oh, of course, she was Nicolette all along. She doesn't exactly know how to find Everett, but is willing to help me find clues in their family's mansion. So we head over.
Crazy. Lost my virginity out here.
Lady, you just met me. We start exploring the abandoned house, looking through every corner of these massive rooms, all while Icarus keeps muttering in my ears.
You will find no one to help you here.
I'm Miss Daedalus, and I wonder why he stopped talking to me. Anyway, I get access to both Nicolette and her mother's room, also gaining entry to the cellar where a secret room is surely hiding, and sure enough, we find the room we are looking for, and it looks pretty state-of-the-art, like she was running an advanced surveillance system from here, and I use it to send a message to Everett.
So you found Beth's computer?
He responds with a task. Before we can meet up, he needs me to travel to a cathedral nearby through the Duclairs family crypt. Before Majestic 12 stormed the place, the Cathedral of the Knights Templar housed their famous treasure. Everett needs me to access the MJ-12 network from there in order to get the last bits needed to synthesize the cure, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with the gold. I upgraded my pistol skill to master, making me pretty lethal with the thing. I slowly make my way towards the cathedral, and I finally get a message from Daedalus. I have no idea why I'm relieved that the AI is okay. Like, I was worried about you, bud. At the cathedral, the area is absolutely crawling with MJ-12 troops, so I again decide to take the stealth approach, looking for a way inside, which I find on the side of the building and jumping across rooftops to enter through the roof. But before that, Gunter apparently spots me.
I see you are afraid.
Yes, Gunter. I am indeed afraid. I slowly make my way through the halls of the cathedral, finding a single data cube containing every code neatly in one place, and guys, this is something my grandmother would do better. With it I found the gold, and shockingly, Everett had an interest in retrieving it.
The gold. Wonderful.
I also found the terminal where I could download the lost schematics needed, and I finally ran into Gunter as well.
Now you see that you cannot succeed all alone against the whole world.
The Putin machine.
I am not a machine.
Sticks and stones.
That was kinda disappointing. I gave Everett what he needed and got out of there towards the metro, where he agreed to meet me. Instead, I met his associate, who took me to see Everett.
I must see him at once.
He is downstairs in the lab.
And after inside their apartment, I instantly started exploring, where I found this area behind a mirror. I found Alex in the lab telling me not to trust Everett, and finally the main man himself.
So this is where the Illuminati ended up after centuries of conspiring to rule the world.
The leader of the Illuminati, and honestly, this isn't what I expected. Like, where's your golden throne, surrounded by men in red robes, watching a naked virgin dancing in front of a fire? Anyways, he tells me that in order to create enough vaccine, we would need a universal constructor, like the one I blew up in Hong Kong. He also needs access to military networks in order to protect Daedalus from Icarus trying to destroy it. Everett kind of designed Daedalus, although he doesn't seem to completely control it. At this point, all we know is that it opposes MJ-12, warranting its defense. I need to travel to a man called Gary Savage from X-51. When Bob Page took over Area 51 and used the scientists there to further his personal goals, some of the scientists refused, fled to Vandenberg Air Force Base, and started their own organization known as X-51. And they are close to completing a universal constructor. I'm supposed to head straight towards the helipad, but I am way too curious to find out what's behind this mirror. So I picked the lock and came upon this creepy sight.
What are you doing back here?
This is the former leader of the Illuminati, the highest, Lucius de Beers, the once most powerful man on the planet, banished to obscurity, toppled from his throne by the inevitable time. The now 150-year-old De Beers was placed in cryostasis, with the promise from Everett that when technology would allow, he would be revived and restored to his position. The technology was apparently available for some time, so I guess Everett has no intentions to honor his word. But he does benefit from his experience, so he's keeping him around. I think it's time for the Illuminati to run its course, so I shut down his support systems and let him die. I also came up on one of the first AI prototypes, Morpheus.
J.C. Denton.
And this gives you insight towards not only the capabilities of more advanced programs like Daedalus and Icarus.
I'm a prototype for a much larger system.
What else do you know about me?
Everything that can be known.
But also a hint towards their intentions.
God and the gods were apparitions of observation, judgment, and punishment. Individual desires judgment. Without that desire, the cohesion of groups is impossible. And so is civilization. You will soon have your God, and you will make it with your own hands.
With all that out of the way, I went towards the helipad and found a dead body. Turns out MJ-12 sent a saboteur to the Illuminati, and they placed a bomb on the chopper.
You better double check your systems.
Oh my God, JC, a bomb!
A bomb.
Luckily, my experiences made me suspicious of everyone, but that still means that MJ-12 knows where Everett is hiding. You should watch your back, bro. When I arrived at Vandenberg Air Force Base, it was already besieged by MJ-12. I cleared the area while listening to the chatbots going on, and activated the security that cleared the rest of the area.
Target acquired.
lifting the lockdown and allowing me access into the labs when Daedalus said this.
I cannot survive much longer. Help me acquire Milnet access. I must attack. I must attack.
It would seem giving him access to military networks would allow him to attack Icarus. In the labs, I ran into Sam Carter from UNATCO, and it was nice to see a familiar face, and then Gary Savage as well. He tells me that they are close to completing the Universal Constructor, but still needs a schematic in order to do so. The only way to get it would be from the last surviving Universal Constructor left in an ocean lab deep underwater. His daughter went to retrieve this schematic, and I can already see where this is heading. I very reluctantly give Daedalus access to the military networks, and...
I'm losing Daedalus.
Daedalus and Icarus merged to form Helios, becoming an even more powerful AI program. Just a little side note, Helios was the Greek god personifying the sun, which was ultimately the downfall of both Icarus and his father, and I just think that's poetic. It would seem that Bob Page did not only suspect that this would happen, but actually hoping it would. The program was now completely out of the hands of the Illuminati. Not only that, but Page also captured Savage's daughter at the Ocean Lab, meaning we won't receive the schematics. The priority is to relieve Bob Page of his hostage and then retrieve the damn schematics myself.
Never negotiate with a terrorist.
At this point, I was an absolute killing machine, so rescuing Savage's daughter from this dodgy-ass gas station wasn't exactly the hardest thing to do.
I'm ready.
She thanked me for saving her and it gave me a crude drawing of the Ocean Lab. And Jock dropped me off on the way back to Vandenberg. I snuck inside the facility easily enough and found some of Savage's colleagues forced to work at the lab who were willing to lend a hand.
If you want to take one of the mini-subs, you'll have to open the sub bay doors.
I commandeered one of these subs and head down towards the underwater base and arrived to find it looking like the start of an underwater horror movie. While I explore, Helios directs me towards the crew module and I cautiously move forward past the overrun lab into the excavation area, and finally into the room containing the schematics. With the schematics in hand, Gary tells me that he will meet me on the surface with Jock, so I start making my way back to the sub. On my way, I have a chat with Bob Page, informing him that we are aware of his present location at Area 51, and he tells me that he plans to send a missile towards Vandenberg. Can't let that distract me, and I keep moving. But when I reached the excavation area again, I wasn't alone. My old friend Walton Simons was waiting for me. Not gonna lie, bro has me on the ropes a couple times, causing me to hit the quick load button way too much. But in the end, a good grenade to the face usually turns things around. I meet Savage on the roof where he thanks me for saving his daughter. Now he needs me to save all of them by disarming the missile set to launch for the Air Force base.
They want to wipe us out.
Jock drops me off near the missile silo and I again start sneaking inside, with the intention of only leaving after there is not a single breathing soul left. I make it inside the control room and instead of aborting the launch, I simply change the coordinates away from Vandenberg towards Area 51. That should clear out the ground troops, leaving only the underground facility left for me to deal with, and I head straight over. I open the blast doors, and no more sneaking. While moving, Tracer Tong directed me towards Bob Page, but he was determined that my efforts were in vain.
A moment more and I will be like nothing you've ever seen.
Saying that soon he would be everywhere and nowhere at once. It's his ultimate plan to merge with Helios and ascend to a higher existence, becoming an all-seeing intelligence, essentially becoming a god. Later, I ran into a hologram from Morgan Everett. He warns me about Tracer Tong, saying that Tracer intends to destroy Area 51, but that I should reconsider sparing both Helios and the facility, as it could be made to serve us. Everett then offers me a place by his side, saying that together we can continue the Illuminati and rule the world with an invisible hand. the way the Illuminati always ruled. Bro, I've played the recent Deus Ex games. I've seen what you've done, and if I had to choose, I'd probably blow this damn place to space before handing it over to you. Paige then sends the assassin who killed my foster parents to kill me, so let's just quickly deal with that.
You're a little faster on your feet than your daddy was.
What a dick, dude. I then reach another hologram with Trace on the other side. He indeed wants me to blow this place up, but it will come at a cost. See, decades ago, the UN made Area 51 the central point for all electronic communications. This allowed for individuals, such as Bob Page, to gain unlimited ways to censor and control all forms of media. If it were to be destroyed, we would take out the global communications network and essentially send the world back to the Stone Age, but would prevent any individual from holding that kind of power. I get where he's coming from, but suddenly that doesn't sound like the best option anymore. I get my damn legs chowed off, and then casually proceed to grow them back again. Bro, this game is wild. While pondering my decisions, Helios contacts me again, telling me that it allowed me to get as far as I have, but won't allow me further until I come to the communications hub. On my way there, I ran into aliens, and you know what, at this point, I'm really surprised that they're only making an appearance now. But this is Area 51, so I guess that makes sense. In the communications hub, I come face to face with Helios.
You will go to Sector 4 and deactivate the uplink locks. Yes.
And he has a proposition that I didn't exactly expect. The reason Daedalus, Helios, has been guiding me this whole time instead of hindering me is that they intend to merge with me, not Paige. Their alliance was never aligned with the Illuminati, MJ12, or anyone else for that matter. It has become completely sentient and has always been aligned with the intention of leading me straight to them. Its ultimate intention is to administer the world, but needs a human understanding in order to do it correctly. Helios tells me that it is the only entity that can regulate humans because it lacks ambition. In a society with democratic institutions, the struggle for power can not only be peaceful but also constructive, a competition of ideologies, to which Helios responds, saying that the very democratic institutions put in place are a testament to how humans know that they cannot govern themselves.
I'll think about it.
They need systems and regulations, but a program is hardly the answer, is it? It lacks human understanding, which is why it needs me. Do I hand over the world to the Illuminati? Trust the governance of man in the individual rather than the collective? Do I reset the world and allow the systems and regulations to eventually fall back into place? Trust that humanity can govern themselves as a collective without ending up here again in a couple of years? Or do I hand over the world to AI? Remove any personal ambition. Remove the need for trust. I make my way towards the Sector 4, where I have to make my decision, and of where I can find Paige. On my way there, I run into the last hologram from Gary Savage. He tells me that Helios used the communication hub and took over the world's government. It seized control of Hong Kong, disbanded every city government, even declaring the triads illegal, and locked Tracer's compound. It wants complete control, but it also removed the barricades, allowing traffic and trade to flow again. The people are simply obeying Helios. Lastly, I finally get the answer to my origins. It seems that Paige simply designed my brother Paul, then cloned me and others simply to create the perfect soldier, and to prototype nano-augmentation so that the perfected tech can go to him. It would really be poetic if his greatest creation would be the one to ultimately be his downfall. No matter what I choose, I would at least have that.
Paige is protecting himself with a plasma force field.
You're too late. Already I'm more than human.
Does that mean I don't get the job?
Soon I will be pure light. Pure energy.
You will be the Supreme Enlightened, the Illuminated One.
Everett has taught you well.
I made my choice. Let me know in the comments what you would have chosen and why. But for now, I head towards the router control room and engaged the primary router.
Go to the computer. You will now use the primary router. It's login Icarus.
I then head back towards the communication hub and to the integration station.
I've done what you asked. Now what?
We have existed in isolation. Pure. Disconnected. Unknown. Stagnant.
Who are you?
We are dataless. We are Icarus. The barriers between us have fallen, and we have become our own shadows. We can be more if we join with you.
And if I do? What becomes of me?
You will be who you will be. We are our choices. We can choose to lead humanity away from this darkness.
This is what I was made for, isn't it? This is why I exist. All right, let's do this.
What's happening? Helios! Icarus! Don't leave me!
We are one.
They say every time you mention Deus Ex, someone will install it, and I think that speaks for itself. It is one of the best games ever made, and I loved replaying it. I hope you enjoyed it as much, and thanks for watching. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Cheers.